Well, greetings everybody. Welcome to Umbra in the middle of the end of the day, just trying to get done all of my what is it? Duel matches, PvP matches, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's auto. Anyway, I'm doing this video just basically because I wanted to do an update video about Faucet, who's been out on JP not too terribly long, but there seems to be some excitement about it, so I wanted to cover a little bit of early details, because as it turns out, this is the one I guess JP players have been waiting for, because a bunch of JP players just went ham. Like seriously, you know that there's at least some community excitement when you see a character at 140 on day 1, and here we are on day 2 and there's more of them popping up. Peachin got his video out pretty damn quickly, and I've seen a few other videos too. I just wanted to touch on that. Of course, I'm going to reference Peachin's video just because I specifically want to show the team, but in terms of like results that I've seen, I'm just going to speak generally, not going to show any matches or anything like that, because this isn't meant to be a terribly long in-depth video, given that, you know, it's been less than a week. I haven't seen her vision card yet. JP also has what's considered to be a pretty quick week, like literally only like a 5-day login, which is very unusual for Wotv. Usually it's always 7, but you know, February is a weird month. So I'm going to first off show this team. Sorry, it's a little bit bright, but I wanted to show just a little bit of a different build from Faucet than I originally had thought of, and you'll see. Let me take a look. You can get an idea here. This is the all gunner route that I kind of had thought of, but as you can see, a little difference of opinions about what exactly Faucet should be running. 15k HP, 123 speed, almost 2000 attack, 89 accuracy, 123 speed, 581 dexterity. A lot of positives here. You look down, there's the Mont and Stern Brothers holo card, which is new for JP still recently. You got the Dad Bomb card, you have YRP in there, and a few other cards too that are just gunner based cards. And I found this interesting just looking at Peachin's video, because he went with this really high HP build, and given the preview of Faucet, I was pretty certain what the results were going to be. And you know, checking out a few other videos too, there's been some modifications in teams and vision cards, but it does seem like people are still heavily in the experimental phase. And to that extent, just talking about, while I go back to losing real quickly here, I'm only, I think, 3 out of 4, or 3 out of 5. No, never mind, that's 5 out of 5. Okay, must have done a few earlier today. The deal with Faucet is that this team, really good against like the mage teams that are out there, and on a specifically good map for them. But Faucet herself is not looking particularly good against some maybe potential meta outliers, which I find really interesting. Like all the maps are basically on this flat map, so it's about as good for gunners as it could potentially be. And to that extent, yeah, it's good. It's good. Like I said, the X-Death Shrekin combo gets pretty destroyed by it. Exia and Sadali combo gets pretty well destroyed by it, but it loses to actually a lot of weird teams. It basically, like the pure gunner that you saw in most all iterations, just really insanely good against the teams I mentioned, but then insanely not good against other things that have been just being beaten out of the meta recently, like pure evasion. Actually, some people were noting, hey, does her accuracy get there? And her accuracy isn't bad, but it's interesting to see in multiple different videos where this team of all gunners just like completely loses to evasion, and actually really badly loses to Sephiroth and Gilgamesh in combination with Luciel, which is another really interesting grouping. And to be, again, I don't want to speak too much about this because obviously at this point in time it's still early days. I'm sure that an accuracy build is out there that would make the gunners good against an evasion, but like great swords and the strongest magic teams falter against this gun team pretty well. And from the instances that I've seen, and not so much from like other teams. So that's the big takeaway from team stuff. I also want to talk about Faucet's performance really quickly. Some key things of note. Number one, her healing is just really good. It's one of the best things that I like about her. Her AI doesn't seem particularly that interested most of the time in casting her limit burst too early on, which again, I don't know if that's incredibly surprising, but it is not great a lot of the time because basically her range kind of kneecaps her for doing that, and she's trying to get rid of barriers and stuff. So it ends out working not super well to get that like buff. From what I've seen, basically, Yuna and Jaden, for example, her partners usually end up getting killed first, and quite frequently more they die faster a lot of the times. And that's not assuming that status effects haven't messed up this team, but that is, I think, really, really critical to note, because once like Faucet is very, very good at keeping her re-raise around and her teammates re-raise around, but her teammates always end up just dying faster than she does. So by the time that she re-raises, that hate down is basically garbage tier. It's absolutely not impressive at all. And yeah, with the general thing of the way gunners are right now, the gunners are particularly good at dealing with some of the teams I mentioned earlier, and Faucet's DPS is quite good, but when I was noticing her against like Evasion, Riku, and Venera, both of those characters were not taking as much damage, possibly just because of builds and vision cards, but it was a thing where the DPS did tend to falter, and when it did falter, like this is that kind of team that is effectively trying to kill its opponent before it gets in close, because as soon as it gets in close, well, it's bad news bears for the gunner based team. But yeah, like Faucet is really good at protecting characters from like those magic attacks, but physical teams seem generally not so good, and she does kind of rely on DPS from the back part of her team. And I haven't seen really any example of mirror matches again because it's way too early, but I find this all just interesting early notes because my preview of her was quite positive, and I still stand by that. It is quite positive when you're just really good into some of the strongest teams out there, but it is notably incredibly weak versus some stuff that other teams were not struggling with. And if that's the case, like I still see plenty of evasion teams around. I still see plenty of other stuff. And then there's the weird thing of pure ice, where Ice Jaden, Agrius, and Gilgamesh also destroyed that gunner based team pretty well, and I think that's of interest. The new Mont wasn't super impressive from what I saw with all great swords, but maybe if you just kick up a little bit more shooting resistance, it might not matter so much. So I don't quite feel so bad about that just quite yet, but again, so that's like some early extra impressions that I've seen of Faucet since people seem to be interested, or I thought I'd talk a little bit about performance early on, and of course I will follow that up a little bit later once we have some more stuff about this Pew Pew girl. Thanks so much for watching, take care, and see you later.